Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to demonstrate the Max for Live plugin Microposer, which makes it more accessible to play and compose microtonal music on a standard 12-note keyboard. So you might be wondering, what's microtonal music? Well, the microtonal music or microtonality is the use in music of microtones, intervals smaller than a semitone, also called microintervals. May also extend to include any music or using intervals not found in customary Western tuning of 12 equal intervals per octave. In other words, a microtone might be thought of as a note that falls between the keys of a piano tuned in equal temperament. In other words, most Western music, if you think of a keyboard, has 12 notes on it. The space between each note is called a semitone, but not all music, and particularly in classical Eastern music like Indian, African, Asian, Middle Eastern, Eastern European music, they have all different tunings. They might have quarter tones or notes that are somewhat smaller than a semitone that you find in standard Western music. So begs the question, if you have, let's say, a tuning that has 24 notes, how are you going to play that on a standard piano keyboard that has 12 notes? Microposer, it takes those incoming notes and it maps or essentially scales them to a 12-note keyboard and allows you to fine-tune the curve favoring the higher notes or the lower notes to dial in which notes that you want to play in the frame of reference of a 12-note keyboard. So let's dive in here. So here we got Ableton, and so we're going to open up this incoming keyboard. These are the notes coming in, and then over here on the other side of Microposer are the notes coming out, so you can see what's actually happening. So in this clip here, I've got a C6 chord with the C on the root and a C as the octave up. So when I play that, you see they're both the same on the bottom and the top. And as I change this setting here, you'll see what happens. So right now it's just set to 12, so nothing is happening. But as I increase this, the notes begin to spread. And then when I reach 24, it's doubled. And it's stretched the chord across 2 octaves. If I go even further, I could do, and you see it's a multiple of 12, 36, and it lines up again, and again at a multiple we've got 48. The EDO stands for equal division of the octave, so it just tells you how many notes it's scaling, spreading per octave. And the bass note is just the note from which this spreading occurs. It goes in either direction. It spreads them out up in the up direction and down in the down direction. What you could also do is so we have this same thing going on here. Now if I change the curve, as I increase this curve, it favors the low notes. And then the opposite happens when I bring it down. It favors the high notes. And if you double click, it brings it back to a linear spreading. If you're not doing microtonal music, I've found that this does have some possibilities for unconventional composition. So here's another feature. So we've got these different retrigger modes. If you go to flush, it just turns all the notes off every time you change a setting. And let's go back to this one. It's not very useful when you have a long extended note, but retrigger all, it plays every note when you change the settings. And when you set it to retrigger new, you'll notice that only the new notes are the ones that are changing. So you could actually compose some different kinds of harmonies, as you see I'm doing, just by moving around the notes. And like any other MIDI effect, you could record those changes by using a separate MIDI channel and then sending the notes into the channel you want to record on. So over here, I've got the same C6 chord. I hit play. And I guess we could record a clip here. I just set that to record. So now when I go into this version of it, I can move these settings around. And then when you go in here, you can see all this crazy stuff that's going on. And of course, you can do all kinds of edits to those compositions. So that's if you wanted to use it for some kind of unconventional composition methods. But what if you wanted to actually do microtonal music? I'm going to demonstrate this. Let's start with a C scale. So this is just playing a simple synth in Serum. And again, I'm going to open these so you can see what's going on. Now, there are many synths that have the capability of loading a tuning file into the synth and playing different kinds of tunings. Serum is one of those, and when you open it, you could go to the global settings, and right over here, it's a section most people don't notice, but you click on this, it allows you to load a .tune file. I have a link in the description where you can download a whole library of these tuning files. For this, let's see. So let's pick this one. Typically, the number is the number of tones per octave. So you got to remember that number, 22. So we'll load that in there. And so now when I play this, let's see what happens. Oh, sounds awful. Well, what's going on is it might not necessarily play a note that is where you expect your note to play. It might be in a different register. So we're going to have to adjust that. It sounds very low, so let's bring the octave up. It was really low, so let's try that. Okay. And as you can see, it's not quite making it to the octave. It's just playing those 12 notes. It's only getting about halfway. But we remember that number was 22, so let's plug that in here. See what happens. There it is. So and so it's going from octave to octave. But we might not really like the way that the notes that it's actually picking across the keyboard, and so we can fine-tune it by just adjusting this curve here. So we want to kind of tune it down, and we bring that number up. Or if you want to have a more uplifting kind of tone quality to it, you bring this down, and the notes are higher, favoring the higher notes. Then in this last section here, I have a chord progression, so you can kind of see what it's capable of. So this is the progression with just straight without any microtuning. And then I'm gonna open it up here in Serum, and I'm gonna go to this global setting. Let's pick this 36 one. Oh, what happened? Again, it's bringing it down to a much lower register. So let's bring these octaves up. Let's bring it up even more. That's about right. And then it was 36, right? Now it starts to sound like what we'd expect. And again, we can fine tune that. Let's try more uplift. Yeah. So there it is. Simple, but allows you lots of different possibilities for composition and exploring the world of microtonal music. Thanks for checking.